Welcome to the VRLY Podcast, the leaders in real estate tech and marketing, with your host, Tyler Irons.
Welcome to the VRLY Podcast. Today we have on Tommy Johnson. Tommy is with VRLY Storm basketball and City of Guards basketball training. So, Tommy, I appreciate you coming on today. And just a quick background. I mean, we've known each other for a while now, and over the last couple of years, I've seen you make some really big impacts in the community. So, I'm just gonna hand it over to you here, and you just tell me a little bit about what you have going on at VRLY and COG.
All right, yeah. VRLY's been around for quite a while, about 4 years now. I was coaching with them for the first part, and then I took a couple years off with them as I started, making my way into the high schools with Lincoln High, coaching JV girls there. And then 2 years back in 2019, I started City of Guards. I thought I could reach more kids, and then just the one team that VRLY had at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided to, give my chance and opportunity to reach more kids, and went off pretty well right away, right off the jump. We had, at my first camp, I had 50 kids, and I was like, okay, this is probably the right decision to make. And then VRLY came back and was like, hey, we're not going to do VRLY anymore unless you're going to take it over. So, in August, I took VRLY over. We went from one team to now we have 6 teams. So, VRLY's been going good too.
Yeah, and that's a huge jump. I mean, taking over teams is not an easy task. I mean, that's multiple practices a week and games on the weekends. I mean, that's a big commitment on top of what you were already doing, which is, City of Guards is basketball training. It's actually the skills and development of the individual player, not as much as the team aspect. So it's 2 full-time businesses for sure that you're running, and they obviously they pair well together, right? So obviously you can develop your players as individuals, and then you can actually go in and get to teach them as a team. I just want to kind of cover a little bit about just your story in general, right? So just kind of give us a quick rundown of what your journey was through basketball and how you kind of got to where you're at today.
Okay. Yeah. Basketball, it's been a part of my life since basically the day I was born. I have older siblings that played, and they were excelled right away, or basically excelled in basketball right away, which is crazy because we have no family background of my dad didn't play, my uncles, my great-grandparents, no one in our family generational life didn't play at all. So it's crazy that we're just kind of naturally blessed with being able to play basketball. So right off jump, when I was in first grade, I was playing with the 4th graders, and then from 2nd grade and then so on, just always played up levels. When I was in 6th grade, I was with the 8th graders. And then when I got into high school, as a freshman, I'm with the JV, and then sophomore, I'm with varsity, and so on. And then I went to college. I had a pretty decent high school career, I would say. I say if I'm on a winning team, I had a good career. And so then I went on to college, and I decided to go to Iowa Central Community College, which was a junior college, because I really wanted to play right away. I didn't want to go to a 4-year and be the, bottom of the barrel playing JV again as a freshman. I didn't want to do that. So I went to a 2-year college and played, and we did really well as a team. We went to nationals. And then from there, I decided to go back home because Iowa Central is about 4 to 5 hours away. And I decided to go back home to Crete, Nebraska, which is Doane College. And at Doane, I did really well during the preseason and everything, and then I ended up tearing my ACL. So that was a bummer. And then from there, I kind of got really discouraged and didn't know how to deal with failure and all that, and didn't know how to overcome that because I'd never seen anybody in my family ever do it. So I was just like, yo, I'm gonna hang up my shoes, went back home, and then I took a semester off of school, and I realized like I'm already like halfway there. I might as well just get a degree to make my mom happy, basically, and make my dad happy. And so I got a degree, and then after I got the degree, I went applying for all these like jobs and everything, and like it was not me. I was like, why would I go to school and do all this and work for someone else? I was like, I didn't understand that. So I started my own business, which was a cleaning business. And at the time when I started my cleaning business, I saw myself becoming more like available, more free, rather than working these 60-hour weeks. I was working 20 and making that same paycheck. And then so my time became more available. So I was able to I didn't even know my nieces were playing basketball. And my nieces were in 3rd grade at the time, and they were playing basketball. And I was like, what? My nieces are that old already to be playing basketball? And then so I went to their games, and they were winning. They were doing really good. And so I was just really supportive. And then I saw them play in a game where they got beat by 33 points. And then I was like, that can't happen to them. So that's why I started coaching. Like once I saw them, I was like, yo, I think I can coach them. I think I can do good. So then I asked my sister at the time, who was running the team, I was like, yo, can I come to a practice and help? She said, yeah, for sure. Definitely come help. We'll take any help anytime you want. And so I went to the practice, and then went really well. And I went to the next practice, and then the next practice. And then I just saw myself just like religiously just coming and coming and coming. I was making it to every tournament. And then I just like saw like the girls' growth just like even better, to where like 3 months down the road, that team that got beat by 33, we're beating them now by like just like 5, but that's a 40-point swing. And then a couple months more down the road, we're beating that team by 20. Now then, a couple more months down the road, we're beating their older top team. And it's just like, yo, I got to keep the momentum rolling. If I can get these couple girls good, I think I can really improve even more and more girls. And from that point, I like actually hung up the cleaning business and was like, I need to do something that I completely love. Like, how can I monetize off and still be like super impactful to these kids with something I actually love doing? And then something you love doing, like when you love something, like all that just naturally falls into place. Like everything, like being able to live off of it and everything just naturally falls into place. So yeah, I started with VRLY. That's kind of like my little rundown of how I am where I am with City of Guards and VRLY.
Yep.
So.
No, that's that's really good insight, into the journey that you traveled to get to where you're at. And I think there's this misconception that a lot of people have that, if you don't make it to college basketball, or you don't make it to the NBA, you failed in basketball. And it's like, I don't know where that narrative came from, but I think I know the most important thing is that you love what you do. Like you're a prime example of being able to go out, create an income, a good living for you and your family while pursuing your passions and while making large impacts in the community. And I think people don't understand, how much of a purpose-driven life that is. When you do that, like your life has purpose. You're making impacts. You're making money. You can do all those things together. It doesn't have to be pick one or the other.
Yeah.
And I think just that narrative has been pushed so hard, where it's like, and one of the things you do that's different is like you're not a nonprofit. You're a for-profit business. You're a for-profit business that makes money and is massively impactful. So I think that other people need to sit back and kind of listen to your story and take it in, where they can reflect on it and go, I don't have to be a nonprofit. I don't have to answer to a board of directors. I don't have to do all these things to make an impact in my community or be seen as a community leader, because you've changed that storyline essentially by just going out and doing it and saying, hey, I'm gonna be my own business owner. I'm gonna make my decisions. I'm gonna be agile by not having a board of directors, so I can change and adapt and make decisions in real time. And you're living proof of it just taking off, like a wildfire. Like everything you've achieved in just a short amount of time, even with COG and then taking on VRLY, as a program is very incredible. One of the other things that you mentioned when you were telling your story was the fact that you failed and you didn't know how to deal with it. So like to me, that's like super relative to where most people are at today in their lives, right?
Mm-hmm.
As a company, we're constantly trying to innovate and move things forward. And one of the conversations I have day in and day out with my staff, day in and day out with my clients, is not having a fear of failure and like getting rid of that stigmatism around it, that it's a bad thing. Yeah. Because, it's so, it's essentially institutionalized into us that we shouldn't fail, that failure is bad. When in reality, like, you grow from failure. So if we're not pushing ourselves and we're not failing, we're not growing. So the fact that you were able to just self-identify and do that, I mean, it says a lot about you and your character as well, because that's a hard thing to do. And that's really hard for most people to accept. Like, there's so many times I see people fail and all the pressures and all the stress that they're experiencing from that failure is from themselves. Like there's no external force putting that stress on them. And like, sometimes I have to even, literally have a conversation with like employees or friends or, clients and just say, hey, why are you stressed? And, and let them think about it for a second, say like, am I stressing you? And we're like, well, no, I didn't put stress on you. I didn't punish you or make you feel bad for failing. Did your peers punish you? It's like, no. It's like, did anybody besides yourself make you hold this like stress of failure in? And 90% of the time it's no, mm-hmm. So it's like understanding that it's okay to fail and it's okay to relax from that failure and just get up and try it again. Get up and try it again. And then once you master that, find something else to fail at.
Right. Yeah. And that's why I use basketball like as like the perfect segue to like be able to reach these kids in like real life, the game of life. And that's like the number one thing I say at the beginning of a game is like, fail. Let me see a turnover. Let me see you bounce back from a turnover. Let me see you miss a rebound so that you'll get the next two. Let me see the failure happen. Let me see you put yourself in situations where you're going to fail, because that's when the whole team concept and everybody's okay with failing, that we start becoming successful at some point throughout that game. And it's only an hour long of a game, 40-minute game or whatever. Mm-hmm. And within that 40 minutes, you start to see like that sense of failure like deplete, and then great things start to happen. Like, wow, I've never seen you take the ball to the hoop with that much aggression or with that without thinking. Almost, you're doing things without thinking. You're creating action. And that's another thing, is like, be proactive. Like, stop being reactive to everything that's around you in the environment. Be proactive. Get to the spot you need to get to on the basketball court, just like you need to get to where you need to get to in life to make yourself successful. Like, stop hanging around this crowd. Go hang around with that crowd that's doing something good or doing something, the right thing at the time. So I always talk about failure. Like, every day I talk about failure. Like, even when I'm doing City of Guards training, it's just like, stop dribbling the ball where it's going to come back to you. Can you dribble it faster? Like, can you go harder? Can you, like, them are the things, like, I want to see your ball go all the way across the gym and hit someone else's ball, because that's when I know you're getting better.
Right.
If you're not losing the ball, you're not getting better in my trainings.
Yep. I mean, You hit it on the head right there. I mean, that's it. Just fail.
Yeah. And then another thing you're talking about with like the nonprofits and like the for-profits, it's like I grew up in the era of like nonprofits. And so, but like the nonprofits I was a part of are no longer around. But the for-profit clubs that have seen are still around, and they're actually kind of growing, you know, in a sense. So when I created like the whole business model, it was like, why do a why do a nonprofit when I, like you said, I won't have any control. And then at some point, if I do something that is aligned with my morals or what I think is right, and the 8 people on my board don't, they can take my whole vision and create it and make it their own. And I'm like, that's just not something that.
Scary.
Yeah, it's scary. And it's like, then again, why would I be working for you guys? Like,
right.
So that was like a huge part, like that the nonprofit was not the way to go. And when you do for-profits, just look around. Like, look at the McDonald's, look at the, you know, the chain, all the chain clothing stores and all that. Those are for-profit businesses that I have seen all 28 years of my life on and growing.
Right.
Like, oh, now Kearney has a Foot Locker, or, you know, like Grand Island and all these other little towns around. Like, look at Elkhorn. Yeah. Like, look at Gretna. Like,
they just changed overnight. I mean, they went from small to large, and you know, just became part of the big city. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the biggest things too with, like, you know, your for-profit businesses, it's like the market will tell you if you're good. If you're not good, the market will close your ass down. You know, like it'll happen real fast. Like, so just prove yourself in the market. Like, if you weren't doing big things, you wouldn't be growing. You know, if you weren't being impactful, you wouldn't be growing. So I think that says a lot about, you know, just the entrepreneur mentality, where it's like, I'm going to control my destiny. I'm going to decide what's going on. You know, like, I'm going to be able to adjust to the market. I'm going to be able to, you know, be agile and make those changes if I need them. And I think, you know, you've made a lot of changes from your model, like just over, you know, half a year, like the things from where you came from and what you're doing, like you're able to do a lot. And I'll let you kind of talk to that, but, you know, I guess let's hit on a little bit on like what you've been doing in the community and things like that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that, like, you can, with the for-profit, you can still reach any demographic of that you want to reach, whether rich, poor, you know, from this neighborhood or that neighborhood, from this side of town or that side of town. You can still reach all the people you want to reach. And that's what I do with the for-profit. I find these, like, other businesses that do these things and these organizations that do really good things in the community, and I team up with them and we create events. So like every Friday night I do a teen night at the Salvation Army, which is a place I grew up in, and I'm like, yeah, for sure, like, let me take over teen night and revive it, because they were only having like 10 people like a night come, and now we're averaging like 90 kids to come throughout the school year. So like I teamed up with them, and it's been great. It's free for the kids. It gives them a safe haven, a place to come on the weekends. Instead of going somewhere else, they can come to a positive environment, like, and they can be safe there. Like, it doesn't matter if you're having problems at home or if you're having problems with another peer. You and that same peer will be in the same building, and you'll know how to coexist. Because there's going to be people in your life you just don't like. But
absolutely, just a fact of life.
You're going to have to coexist. And like, so they get a lot out of it than just being in a safe environment. They're going to learn how to be around another kid or another peer that they don't like. And I see them playing together. Right. You know, like,
yeah, they'll forget about it real quick. I mean, that's life. Like, you just let things go, and then all of a sudden it's not a big deal. You know, like any age, that's just the way it goes.
Right.
You know, but no, I totally agree. Like, to have that safe place is super impactful, to have a place to go in general, because there's, you know, so many times where it's like, youth don't have a place that's their spot. A lot of times when they go places, especially in those teen years, they're seen as like a nuisance or a problem. They're like the businesses don't want them around because they're loitering, or like, the adults don't want them around because they're in the way, or they're just always seen as this nuisance. And which is really sad, because this is where they're learning to, assimilate into society and be productive, members of it. So they need to be able to, especially like nowadays with everything being so digital, I feel like, a lot of those kids don't have the EQ, the emotional intelligence to go out and engage with each other and talk and ideate and sit down and like just be around people outside of the school environment. And when you're in the school environment, it's just so controlled, that you don't get to be yourself. You don't get to have your own personality. You don't get to like just sit and talk and just do the things you want to do. And it's not necessarily about like going and doing an activity. It's just about being around other people. Yeah. So, and basketball is a great way to make that happen. And I think that's one of the things I've seen most from what you've been doing on those, like, teen nights, is so many kids show up that don't play basketball. The majority aren't there to play basketball. They're there because there's a place to be, that they're welcome, that they feel safe and comfortable at. So that says a lot about, everything that you've essentially created is it's doing pretty impactful things.
Yeah, for sure. And then another thing I do in the community, I teamed up with the Lincoln Police Department, and then Stanford Bradley Senior, both of them who work in the community. My brother Michi, he's essentially who I want him to, take over that role, because he is that spark too that creates my innovation and all that. And once I get him to come out, I think we can be like a two-head monster.
Yep.
But yeah, he helps me out. He's at every event as well too. So I got I'm with the LPD, and we do like we did a free 3-on-3. We do like free events each month. We try to like throw a free event out each month for the kids. We did a 3-on-3 tournament called Badges for Basketball. We had over 50 kids like just to come to participate, but we had over like 200 people come and like just check it out and watch it. And that event went really well. And then this month, next Tuesday, the 30th, from 6 to 8:30, we'll be doing bowling event where it's free bowling, and then they get food, and that there is for all the youth, and then like even little kids from like 3rd grade, 4th grade, their parents are welcome to come too as well. And that there, it gives like, just like, how you said like the teenagers are like looking like as a nuisance. And so like that's the perspective we have of cops, and cops have that same perspective back. And so where they're just like, the main thing I want out of those events is that they're building a new perspective. So like, not all cops are bad, but also not all kids are bad as well. So even if that kid is on probation, he's still a kid. Like, he's still learning. He's still like, yeah, he failed a little early, but he's still learning, And so like, that's the main thing I want out of those events with the Lincoln Police Department.
Yep. I mean, that's huge. And just getting that's probably a lot of people's first opportunity to like actually sit down and talk, and with a police officer and things like that, and just understanding that everybody's just people, and we're all humans. So if we're just have dialogue, and transparent dialogue, even if it's not not all conversations are good, and I say this all the time, it's like, it's worth having the hard conversation, So if things are going on in your community, it's worth having that conversation with the community leaders and the community, like law enforcement, things like that, so they know how you feel, and then they can adjust to it, And so it's like, it's when like resentment and like people are feel some type of way on either side, and then most of the time the other person doesn't even know it. They're just like, oh, you're mad. Okay, I didn't know. Like, but if you just have those conversations and you learn how to communicate, so much can be resolved just peacefully and diplomatically, that it's things don't always have to be as hard as we make them.
Right. For sure.
So I'll I won't take up much more of your time, but I appreciate you coming in. Is there any other big moves you guys have planned this year?
I just say, stay tuned. Stay tuned. We got, we always are thinking and trying to grow in any type of way, whether growing ourselves and growing our businesses as well. I say just stay tuned. Stay engaged with what VRLY's doing and what Lincoln City of Guards is doing, because we are a family, and creating a really community environment where we're trying to bring all Lincoln together, so where people will be like, yeah, Lincoln is the place, Lincoln is where it's at, you know? And so, yeah, just stay tuned. And
Definitely. Okay. So if people want to reach out or get involved or follow along, how can they get a hold of you?
Oh, yeah, for sure. My main platform I use is Instagram. So if you just look up Tommy_LNK_COG, and you'll get like live updates on everything I do, from groups to events, you know, just everything. So if you want to really be involved, just download that IG, which I'm assuming most people have, and look up my IG handle. Yeah.
If they're watching this, they're probably at least understand the internet, so they have Instagram and podcasting. So they should be good. But again, appreciate it, Tommy. Thanks for coming on. If anybody has questions, they can reach out to you. We'll provide you information in the link. But thank you again for coming on. Thank you for everything you've been doing in the Lincoln community, and look forward to seeing what you do next.
Yeah, appreciate you having me. Go VRLY.
Yeah, absolutely.